Hi guys, good morning. Hope you guys are doing great and welcome to this other video. So today in this video we are going to go with the post configuration of lab 1 on this series of video on Active Directory certificate services. So so in the previous video where we did Active Directory certificate service for FortiGate Firewall, so we presented why we were doing this video, because of the fact that in many companies there are still servers that are running Active Directory role and services, and most of the time you have like some FortiGate firewalls that are there to ensure security between the internal and the external network, and also communication between users and the resources that they access every day. So because of that, there is a need for certificates to secure all those traffic. So that was why we decided to do this video. So we saw this objective, then we thought about what is ADCS and how it works. We show and explain these common use cases of using ADCS with FortiGate. So we show deployment mode. Also talk about the architecture and hierarchy of ADCS with this typical case, and also did a comparison between having an Active Directory certificate authority on premises than having to buy a third party or to buy certificate from a third party seller or reseller. So we saw prerequisite to install ADCS, and in that video we started with lab 1 where we did install the ADCS. So we did all the following. We did the step-by-step installation of ADCS. So today we are going to follow up with post-install configuration. So after that we are going to jump on lab 2, which is going to be to follow the following steps that describes how to request a certificate that we'll use to install on our FortiGate device to secure HTTPS access on our FortiGate device. So we are going to follow these steps. So after lab 2, we are going to jump on lab 3, where we are going to talk about how to install the local certificate authority certificate on our FortiGate device so that we can use this certificate for SSL inspection. So we are going to do a lab on SSL inspection and see how to use this local CA to secure SSL inspection. It can be certificate inspection or deep inspection on the traffic for our users. So after lab 3, we are going to go on lab 4, where we are going to configure SSL VPN with LDAPs. So we are going to see how to enable LDAPs on our FortiGate device, add a new LDAP server with the secure option LDAPs, as we have a certificate now. Then we'll see how to enable VPN and make sure and do some testing to see how users can connect on the VPN using their their Active Directory accounts. So without wasting time, let's jump directly on our FortiGate, or let's jump directly on our ADCS to continue from where we left last time. Okay, so now the installation is completed. So now what we need to do now is to proceed with post installation configuration. So let's click on this link. So from here, what we need to do is to start with the configuration. So here we need to use an account that is, as I mentioned in the slide here. We need to make sure we are using an administrative account which is member of both the domain enterprise admins and the local admin on the ADCS server. So you need to make sure the account that you are using here meets the requirements. So we have it here, local administrator group. You need to be in the local administrator group, and you also need to be enterprise admin group on the domain. So you need to make sure that the account you are using here meets these requirements. So by default, you have the administrator here, but what we are going to do here is what we need to do here. So from our Active Directory domain services, we've created this user account that we call ADCS services. So this is the account that we are going to use. So we make sure the account is a member of. So we make sure the account is member of the enterprise admin group here, and also here on the local ADCS, this account is also member of the administrators, local administrators on this AD server. So you need to make sure you have those requirements. So what we are going to do here, instead of using the administrator account, so usually it is not recommended to be using the administrator account credentials to install role and services or any other role or services that you are running on your Windows server. Always create a new service account that you're going to use for that purpose. So here I'm going to change this, and from here I'm going to provide ADCS. So this is the username. So if I go here again under, if I come here again under general account, so you see here that is the username. ADCS is the username. ADCS at lab.local. So this is the username that I'm using here to connect. So just providing here the password. Hit enter. Okay, so this is the account that we are going to use to install this role and services. So hit next. So here I'm going to select what are the whole services that I'm going to configure. So the first step, remember, the first step was to install. The second step now is to configure these roles. So what we are going to do is, as we are actually configuring the role services, we'll start with the certificate authority. I will see, generally when you select certificate authority, there are some services that you cannot configure if the certificate authority is not yet configured. So we'll try to hit some of to select some of these services roles to see if we can configure all of them at the same time. So let's go certificate authority web enrollment. This works. Online responders, it also works. Network device enrollment, you see, network online enrollment cannot be installed on this computer simultaneously with the certificate authority. So you must first finish this the configuration of the certificate authority before we can proceed with network authority. I guess it is same with this one. Okay, same thing here. Okay, we can also go. So we will configure these 4 roles first. Then after this certificate authority is configured, we will come back and configure network device enrollment and certificate enrollment web services. So from here, hit next. So this is where you need to select whether you are going with the enterprise CA or the standalone CA. So remember here on the slides, we provide detailed information about these 2 modes. So from here, what we are going to select here is enterprise, as our workstation or this server is member of the domain. So as you can see from here, even though the workstation is part of the domain, you can also select here standalone. So even if the server is member of Active Directory, you can still install the ADCS certificate authority as a standalone certificate authority. So you can see the difference from here. You can select both as your choice. So here we are going with Active Directory Enterprise CA. So here, so this is the first CA of our infrastructure. So we are going here with the root CA. So if it was a second or a third, you could select, for example, subordinate here. So we are going with the root CA. So as I mentioned, if you are creating a root CA, if you need to generate certificate from that root CA, either certificate for a subordinate CA, or either using it as a primary CA to generate certificate directly to end users, you will need to have a CA certificate. So the CA certificate is what we are going to configure here. So here you are asking, specify the type of private key that you need to use. You know, when you are generating certificate for a client, the CA here needs to have the private key, because in the certificate that is generated to the end user or to the computer, that certificate will have the public key. So the CA has the private key. So we need to create a private key here. Since this is a new CA that we are installing, so we don't have any existing private key, so we'll be going with creating a new private key. So I hit next. So from here, pay attention here on the cryptographic options that you have here. So here you can select the cryptographic provider. So by default, I will go with this one. But pay attention here about on the key length. The key length that you are selecting here, and also the hash algorithm that you are going to select here, you need to pay attention on it, because depending on the level, depending on the equipment and the devices that are running on your infrastructure, the information that you select here will affect your devices. Let's say, for example, if you are running a previous version of FortiGate, that is 7.0 or any 6 version, let's say, let's just go like that. If you select a key lane that is above 2048, those devices might not be able to request a certificate from this CA, because on those devices, most of the time, you have the supported key lane. The maximum supported key lane will be either 1024 or 512. So you need to pay attention on this, but you need to also make sure that you are using a recommended key lane. So that's why by default here you see 2048, because as for now 2048 is recommended, because you still have multiple devices, current devices, that are running 2048. But if you need to go, if you need to go with advanced security, if you need to implement some advanced security, then in that case you go with 4096. But as I said, the more you go further with the key lane, the less the devices will be available or will be capable of requesting a certificate on requesting certificate on this CA. So here we are going with this default 2048, and also here the hash algorithm. As I said, you are also going to select here according to your environment. So you will not take older hash algorithms. You will not take the previous version or previous hash algorithms, because for security purposes. So here now, under recent one that are available, you can go either with the SHA 256, 384 or 512. So this, as I said, is also depend on your infra. The more the security level is higher, the less the devices with previous settings or previous architecture will be able to request a certificate from DCA. So here also SHA 256 will be suitable for me, so I'm going with this one. So here also allow administrator interaction when the private key is accessed by the CA. So here is selected. So we'll also see during the we also see when we'll be on this task for the lab, for requesting, when we'll be at this step of requesting a certificate for our FortiGate device. We'll implement this and you will see the difference of when selecting, the impact that happens when you select these informations here. So let's go next. So the CM name, so here, from here you can customize the CM name, or you can leave it by default here. So this is the CM name, this is the distinguished name, and this is the preview of the distinguished name in the infrastructure. So either you are modifying this or you can allow it like this. So I'm going with the default information here. So here is where you need to decide the validity period. As I mentioned here in the slide, you remember that for each, either the root CA or the subordinate CAs, each of them need to have a validity period. So that's what we are going to configure here. So either you are going with 5 years, you can take maybe days, week, month. Then here you can modify to put like 5 or 10 years. That depends on you. So this is the validity period for the certificate generated for this certificate authority. So pay attention here again. select the validity period for the certificate generated for this certificate authority. So as I mentioned previously, each certificate authority has a certificate authority certificate. Certificate authority certificate. So each certificate authority needs a certificate authority certificate to be able to generate and manage certificate for other endpoints. So here all is good. I'll hit next. So this default information about database location. I'm good with this. So next, select the type of authentication. So the type of authentication here is authentication type for certificate enrollment policy. So here is, for example, at the end of when you will finish, when the CA will be available, and when we will publish all the certificates. So remember here in the on this slide, we explain that after installing, configuring certificate template and publishing the template, that is where after publishing the template, now end users, devices, and network devices can request certificates from the CA. So here we are asking, when end users are requesting certificate, will they be logging or will they be authenticating using the Windows integrated authentication method, or a client certificate authentication, or username and password? So here we are going with the Windows integrated authentication. So we'll see the differences, or we'll see the details of this when we are going with the practical on the next step. So here I'll hit OK. So from here, specify a server authentication certificate. So actually, we don't yet have a server authentication certificate. We've configured it to be created here in the previous step here, but we don't have it yet. So what we are going to do here is to choose and assign a certificate for SSL later. So we are going to assign this later. So I'll hit next. So this is a preview, a summary of all the action that we selected so far. So if all is good, all we are going here is going to configure. So we are going to configure so that this will install or configuration will complete. So this is it. All is completed now. So the 5 or the 4 rows that we selected, all of them are now configured successfully. So now we are going to click close, and it will propose us or suggest us to configure the 2 other rows that we did not completed previously. So I'll hit close. Then you can see now that I have this other pop-up message which asking, do you want to configure additional role services? So this is because we have another 2 roles that were installed and we did not configure it. So I'll just hit yes. So now again, I'm going to use our ADCS account. So here I'm going to click next. So here, as you can see, the other 4 rows are already configured. So all we need to do here is to select the 2 other roles. So I'll select these 2 roles, then I'll hit next. So here also we need to make sure the account that we are using here, so specify service account. So make sure this account that we are going to specify here is the account that is going to be used for network device enrollment services. So we need to make sure the ADCS account that we used previously is also part of this IUSR group. So what we are going to do here on the local workstation, so here we are doing it on the local workstation. We need to make sure that this group IIS user, we need to double click here and we make sure we add members. So here under members, we are going to add the ADCS account. Okay, ADCS password. Okay, so the ADCS account is actually member of this group. So it's actually member of this group on the local workstation. So pay attention, this is the group in the local workstation. So here I'm going to put the account here, ADCS password. hit enter. Okay, so now we have it here. So pay attention here, because when I was explaining prerequisite here so when explain the prerequisite here, I mentioned that for administrative access, the account that we are using should be member of domain enterprise admin and also local administrator on the ADCS server. So we saw that when configuring the role as configuring the server as the certificate authority role. So now that we are performing device enrollment, we need to make sure, as I said on the next slide, that we needed to add a new service account and add that service account to this group. You see, to this group. So here we could also use a new account here, or a different account here, which is only integrated to this group. So rather than creating another account, I just decided to add this same account to this group on this local server. So this is it. So next, so here is information regarding so this is the information regarding the registration authority. So the registration authority, this is the name of the registration authority. So pay attention, that is the registration authority, the name of the registration authority, not the certificate authority. We already configured certificate authority. Now we are configuring the registration authority, because a registration authority is required to manage the network device enrollment service. So this is the name of the registration authority. If you need, you can rename it here if you want. So me, I'm going with the default information, and the location is good for me. So all this other information here are optional for me, so I will not provide anything here. So hit next. Same thing here for the cryptographic information. So I'm also going with the default values. Hit next. So here you need to specify the CA that is going to be used for the certificate enrollment web services. So we already configured the CA in the first part. So this is the name of the CA. All is good so far. I don't have another CA. So I'm going with this. So configure the certificate enrollment web services for renewal only mode. So I'll not go with this. Let's hit next. Here, same thing. So specify the service account. So this is a service account that is going to be used for the certificate enrollment web service. Certificate enrollment was, remember that we are configuring two role services here. So here again, as mentioned, we still need to put this group, the account that we are going to use here needs to be member of this IIS group again. So we'll be using the same account again. Okay, ADCS account. So hit next. So here you see, now that we've already created a certificate for our certificate authority, we already have a certificate now here. You remember in the previous, when we are configuring the for order, we did not have this certificate yet. So here we already have the certificate, so we'll be using this certificate. So hit next. So this is a summary of what was selected here. If all is good, we hit configure, and this should be completed with these two roles. Okay, so these two roles are now completed. So everything is completed now. So the ADCS role is installed. All the post configuration settings are configured now. It means if I go, for example, under tools and I look for certificate authority, so you see a menu here available on tools, under tools, certificate authority. So just hit certificate authority. So you see that I have my certificate authority here. From here now, under my certificate authority, I can see revoke certificate. I can manage issued certificate. So for now, you have these two certificates that are being issued. Remember, the certificate are issued for the service role that need the certificates. So you can see now we have pending requests. So when user will request for certificate, we'll see the request pending here. Any failed certificate for any reason will appear here, and certificate templates. So here, talking about certificate templates. So here on your certificate authority, we have like available certificate templates. So the certificate templates are the templates that are available for users to request. So remember when we were discussing the how ADCS works, so we mentioned that the step of deploying ADCS, the first step was to install the ADCS role, then configure the CS after installing. Then third step was to configure certificate templates. So we are going to configure certificate templates for various types of certificate that can be issued and managed by our certificate authority. Then we are going to publish those certificates so that requesters that can be that can be a user, a client, or another workstation, a client, a workstation or a server, they can request those type of certificates. So the requesters can also be like network devices like switches and routers. So in this step, so actually we are on the step of we need to configure templates and publish them. So before publishing the templates, let's jump directly on the web enrollment interface. So you know when you install your ADCS, by default, users can access on the web enrollment portal to request certificates. So that web enrollment portal here, to access it, you just provide the IP address of your ADCS. Then you do like /srv, so like /server. So from here, this is the interface. So you put the IP address /set srv. You get prompted to connect. So from here, this means this is the interface where a user, a requester will have to log in so that he can request for certificates. So for the purpose of this video, I came here on our Active Directory domain, and I created a random user. So this user, this John Doe, is a random user which just member of authenticated users. So this is not an admin account, just member of domain users. So this is a simple domain user. So here the user is going to connect. So this is the interface or the web enrollment interface. So from here, users or requesters can request a certificate. They can view the status of the pending certificate request. So after requesting a certificate, you will see the status here. Can be on hold, waiting for administrator to authorize the certificate. And also from here, they can download the CA certificates, also the certificate chain or CRL. So for now, what I wanted to show is that from here by default, without us configuring or customizing new certificate templates, from here a user already can already request a certificate. So from here he can either request for a user certificate, or if you go here under advanced certificate request, so from here you will see that under certificate template, they are like by default these two certificates that are by default they are available for domain users. So any user that is member of is part of the domain, when he connects on this workstation on this ADCS portal, he have access to request a user certificate or basic EFS certificates. So these are the available templates. So what we are going to do here is we are going to go from the certificate templates from here. So we are going to right click, then select manage. So here under manage, this is where you have all the certificate templates that are available by default on our ADCS. So here are all the certificates that the certificate templates. So here are certificate templates that are available. So from here, what we are going to do, for example, is we are going to duplicate. Let's say we are duplicating maybe this web server template. So I'll just hit right click, then I'll hit here duplicate templates. So I hit duplicate templates. So there are a lot of information from here that you can modify. So all what I need to do from here, I'll go under general here. This is where I'm going to provide a new name. As I said, I'm duplicating this web server template, so I need to provide a new name for this one. So for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to call this this template HTTPS for FortiGate. So I'll say HTTPS FortiGate. This means this is just the template that I'm going to use to request a certificate to secure our HTTP, to secure our FortiGate device. So here we have like validity period. So for how long, what is going to be the validity period for each certificate that is being generated from this certificate template. So from here you can customize. So by default is 1 year and the renewal period is 6 weeks. So you can also decide to publish this certificate in your Active Directory as well. So after this general, what I need also here is to go under security. So here under security, you need to make sure that authenticated users, they can enroll, they have read permission and enroll permission on this certificate template. So if you don't provide the proper permissions here, then the users, when they are connected here on the ADCS portal to request certificate, they will not see this this template. So you need to make sure you are giving them the right permissions. Okay, so that's been said. So I don't have like any other change that I need to provide from here. For me, so far all is good. So all I need to do so far here is simply to apply. So I'm going to apply. So hit OK. So if I check here on top or maybe below, okay, here we have our certificate templates. So we have our HTTPS FortiGate that is available right here. So what we need to do now is to publish this certificate. So as you remember, we said here, after configuring the certificate, we need to go on step 4, which is publish the certificate. So publishing the certificate will make it available for users when they are connected here. So to publish it, I'll just write the certificate template here and go under new, then select certificate template to issue. So from here, I'll just select my new template. I hit OK, refresh. So sometimes you need to restart. You need to restart ADCS services for the changes to apply. So I just go to do that. I'll just go here under server manager and select the ADCS. Then below here under services, just select Active Directory certificate services and right click. Then I'll do like restart services. So these are 3 services that are available. So I can just restart all the 3 services. So restart. Okay, so now that the services have been restarted, so normally here if I just refresh this page, so I can refresh from here, then under certificate template now I should see like HTTPS FortiGate. So this template is now available. So John Doe can actually request a certificate from this certificate template. So that's been said. Let's see now that really I think the lab that we needed to do now is, so I think post install configurations are now completed. So another thing that we can check is to make sure that when users request for certificate, we need to make sure that the certificate are in pending mode, waiting for administrator to approve. So for that, we need to go under properties here. So under properties, we'll go under policy module. So from here, we'll check under properties. Make sure that you have this, set the certificate request status to pending. So the administrator must explicitly issue the certificate. So this is important. You need to make sure you have this, because I think by default is usually under this second option. So you need to make sure this option is enabled. Otherwise, when users will request certificate directly from this, when users will request certificate directly from here, the certificate request will not need an approval from administrator, and the user will get immediate certificate response from this interface. That's not a good idea, because as an administrator you need to have access, complete access on the certificate that are being generated by your ADCS certificate authority. So what we are going to do now is we are going to jump now on lab 2, which is to follow these steps to generate a certificate for HTTPS access on our FortiGate. So we are going to jump on our FortiGate device and we'll get to create a certificate signing request. Then we'll upload the certificate signing request on our ADCS. we need to validate the certificate, then install the certificate on our FortiGate, then set it as a administrative access. So here, let's connect on my FortiGate devices. So here, what we are going to do is I'm going to show you like two cases. So here I'm connected. For example, this FortiGate device, the FortiGate port here is a FortiGate that I'm using for testing purposes. So this one is a FortiGate with an evaluation license, a trial license, right? So this FortiGate is deployed on my GNS3, and I'm using a trial license on it. And in this other on this other FortiGate here, this other one is the physical FortiGate device I have here at home, on which I can connect and do multiple tasks. So I'm going to generate the CSR. I'm going to generate the CSR on the two devices, and you will see what is going to be the difference. So I'm starting here with the device on which I have trial license. So from here, as you can see, under HTTPS server certificate, I still have the default certificates for FortiGate. So here I'm going under certificate. So from here, what I need to do here under certificate is that I'm going to go under create, then I'm going to generate a CSR. So the CSR is the file that the certificate signing request that I'm going to upload on my FortiGate, on my ADCS to purchase or to request a certificate that I can install on my FortiGate device. So I'll just hit here CRS. So from here, why I mentioned I needed to do this on two FortiGate devices is because on the trial license, when you have a trial license, you will see, for example, here below the key size that I have here for the certificate signing request that I can generate from here. The key size length will be 512 bytes. 512 here. You see what I have here for 512. If I go here under my physical device and I do the same here under certificates and I hit here generate CSR, you see here that because this device has a proper FortiGate license, so you see here now that I have multiple options like the key size. I have multiple values here for the key size. And remember that when we were doing the configuration of our certificate authority, we mentioned that the length for the key size that we needed, the minimum that we needed for our certificate authority that was authorized on our certificate authority was 2048, right? And during that configuration, I also explained that if you are using a device that has a key length that is below 2048, that device will not be able to request a certificate on our certificate authority. So we are going to try that here. So let me create the CSR for this one. So I'll just call this HTTPS set like this. So from here, I'll just put the domain name. So I'm going to put the domain name of this FortiGate device. So this FortiGate prod.lab.local. So from here, organization unit, I'll just say SecOps. So these are optional settings. So company name, I'll just say IT Learning Labs. Okay. Locality, I'll just say Toronto, Ontario. From here, then from here I'll just say Canada. Okay, Canada. So you can also provide an email here or any other of this information here. So from here, all I need to do now, as you see, I don't have like choices. I don't have multiple choices here, so I'll go with the default that are available. So from here, all I need to do here is to go with okay. So this has generated this CSR that I have here. As you can see, we don't have information about subject, comment, issuer, and so on. So it is actually in pending state. So what I will do from here is simply to download. Now, as it is downloaded, I need to open it. So this is the CSR. So I need to copy this CSR from here. Then I will go back on this interface here. So this is the interface to request certificate. So if I just do previous so that we understand this, like how users will do if they need to request a certificate. So they connect on on this home page, then they'll go under request a certificate. If it is a user certificate that they need, they'll just go directly from here. But if it is a certificate from a CSR, they'll need to go with the advanced certificate request here. Then from here, you need to paste the CSR content here. So I'm going to paste this. Then here on the certificate template, you need to select that the certificate template that was customized for the purpose of the certificate that you are requesting. So I'm going with HTTPS FortiGate. So from here, I'll hit submit. Okay. So you see that directly from here after submitting, you see this answer here. Your certificate request was denied. Your request ID is 16 though. The disposal message is denied by policy module. So here, if I go on our security authority here from this interface, so if I go under pending request, I don't see any request here because this request did not even arrive on the pending request section. So the request will probably be here under failed request. So what you need to pay attention here is the request ID. So the request ID here is 16. So I'll go under failed request. So from failed request here, what I need to check is this ID 16. So let me just expand this. So what I need to check is why was the certificate denied, or the CR, the request was denied because the public key does not meet the minimum size required by the specified certificate template. You see, so this is what this is the reason why the request was denied. So as you can see from here, it mentioned that the public key does not meet the minimum size required by the specified certificate template. So from here, as you see certificate template, you might think, okay, maybe this is because from the certificate, this means from the certificate template, maybe we can do some adjustment for this. Yes, we can do it. So we can go here under still here under certificate template. We can go under manage. Then here under our certificate template, if I right click here and do properties, you will see here that under cryptographic here, you will see here that the minimum key size here is 2048. So this is the default because it was configured on the certificate authority. So by default, all the certificate templates that are here have this information. And from here, as you can see, you can modify this information. So let's say, for example, because we have a device that is actually running supporting 512. So let's say our minimum here, let's go with 284. Minimum size here, let's say our minimum size here is 284. That means normally 512 should be good to go. So you can take 384 here, we'll do apply or hit OK. So from here, what we need to do, maybe you can say re-enroll all certificate holders, or you just refresh from here. So normally that information is already is also available on this certificate, this published certificate. The issue here is that with the published certificate, under properties, you don't have options to modify, but any setting that you do on the certificate, on the original certificate template, would affect this one, because this one is the one that is actually that displays here, right? So that's the one that displays here. So if I come here again and I try to submit, so now you will see your certificate request has been received. So now it looks like the certificate requests have been received. Then you will see, however, you must wait for an administrator to issue the certificate you requested. Your request ID is 17. So please return to this web page in a day or two to retrieve your certificate. So for now, it looks like, okay, your certificate request succeeded well this time, and your ID is 17. So let's go and see. So here, if let's just reduce this one. Okay, so here, if I go under pending requests, okay, so you see now that our pending request, you see that we have the request that is available here. So all we need to do is to right click, go under all tasks. So from here you have these two options are available: view attribute, export the binary data. But also here you have either you issue the certificate or you deny the certificate. So let's say, for example, you want to issue the certificate. So if I hit issue certificate, so normally the certificate is issued, and so if all is good, normally here under issued certificate we should see a certificate with ID 17. So let's go certificate. As for now, you see there is no certificate with ID 17. But if you go here under failed request, you see now that we have a failed request here with ID 17. So if I expand this, the reason again is what? The reason again here is that, let me expand this again a little bit. Okay, so a signature algorithm or public key length does not mean does not meet the system minimum requirement length. You see, so we still have this issue of minimum required length, minimum required strength, minimum required strength. So you see that also from here, even though you can go and adjust or modify the size of the size of the key lane from the size of the key lane from the certificate authority, that will not let you to generate the certificate. So that's what I wanted us to see from here. So that's to make you understand that when you are configuring your certificate authority, the information regarding the cryptographic algorithms and the key size, the information that you select when configuring it, it will affect your devices. Okay, it will affect the devices that will be requesting certificates. So from here, we will not be able to generate the certificate from our CA. So here, let's jump on our physical device. So here under our physical device, we are going to proceed the same. So here I'm going to select certificate name. So I'll call this set HTTPS, just giving just a name. FortiGate ID type, I'm going to give a domain name, so I'll call this FortiGate.lab.local. So here, same information, sec IT training, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Okay, Canada, as I said, you can provide this other information. So from here, you can decide. So here on the key size, you see by default here we are on 2048, but you can also go on previous key size. As you understand that if you go on previous key size, you will not be able to generate certificate to receive a certificate from our certificate authority. So it's either you are going with 2048 or you are going with 4096. So from here, we are going with file base. So all I need to do here is hit OK. So here I have my my CSR. So what I need to do also here is simply to download. Okay, so I have the file here. So from here now, I will copy the content of the CSR. Then here again under my certificate, this interface from here, what I can do, I will simply select all the text that is here. I will replace it with a new one. Okay, so HTTPS FortiGate, hit submit. Okay, so we have submitted a new certificate request. So our ID is 18. So if I go here now under my certificate authority here, I go under pending request. So I have my pending request that is here. So the reason why I mentioned that you should make sure to enable the pending state is that as a certificate administrator, you need to make sure that the certificate requests that are being posted or generated by users, those are legitimate. So they are legit certificate requests, and you need to talk with the users to make sure that the certificate that they are requesting are for legit purpose. So you need to check with them. So if everything is correct about the certificate request, all you need to do is just right click as we showed previously, and from here you will hit issue. So the certificate is not issued. So here under issued certificate, you can see now that we have the 18 ID, request ID 18. The requester is John Doe, as we said. So from here now, you see that we have the certificate from here. So remember when we were generating the CSR, we had a possibility to add an email address. So if we had added an email address, an email will be sent to this user, to John Doe, to mention to him that the certificate is actually available and he can now connect to download the certificate. So from here, what we need to do again, if I just go again previous like this, I'll refresh. Then from here, the second option that you have here is to view the status of a pending certificate request. So I can hit from here. So from here, I'll see this one. So this one was the certificate that was denied. So I have this other one below, and here it is a certificate that was accepted or issued by our CA. So from here now, what I can do is I can download the certificate either in the DER encoded or base64 encoded. So what I need from here, I can simply download the certificate. So I'll hit download from here. I'll keep the certificate. So this is the certificate file from here. So all I need now is to connect again from here. So when you generate the certificate, this will not automatically apply or make this CSR here valid. It will not change the state directory to valid. So you still need from here to go under create certificate. Then from here you take this state option here, import certificate. So I'll hit here import certificate. So from here I'll select local certificate, then I'll just hit here under upload. Then I'll go on my workstation here, then I'll select the certificate that was downloaded recently. I'll hit open, hit create. So okay, certificate has been generated. So now I hit okay. Then you will see now that the information, so previously on this set HTTPS request, we did not have those information. So the information are now available, and you can also see the issuer. So this is the issuer, here is our certificate authority. You also see the validity period. So I can double click, for example, on this certificate. So I can double click on this certificate to see all this information. So this is the common name, as I mentioned. This is the organization, the organization unit, locality and state, and locality, state and country. So this is the issuer, and this is the validity period. So it is 1 year validity period. So now you have our certificates. We can now assign this certificate to any services. Like for example, on this one, we wanted to assign this certificate on HTTPS access. So directly from here under settings, you can go here under HTTPS server certificate. Then from here, just scroll down and select our recently added certificate. So that's it. So now I can just hit apply. So this certificate now is now applied to our FortiGate device. So each time that we'll be accessing this FortiGate, it will be secured by this certificate. So that was it for the first lap, or for the second lap. So all is done. That those steps have been followed, and now we have it here. So now we will jump on the second lab, or we'll say the third lab, to see how to generate the local CA certificate, and we'll go on the fourth lab to see how to generate SSL VPN with LDAPs. So maybe we are going to add maybe another labs on this series of video. On this series of video under ADCS plus FortiGate. So don't hesitate to mention under the comment section if you have any idea, any suggestion about some any lab that we can do under this topic. So just let us know under the comment section if you have any idea on maybe a lab setup that you like us to implement, and that would be great. That will be greatly appreciated from you. So guys, stay tuned and let's meet in the next video.